Well, good morning, everybody. Here's my plan for the forecast video today. We're going to talk a bit about Milton, of course, at the beginning and get, I think, the latest information we've got and try to predict where this system is going to make landfall and about the timing of it. We're then going to transition back to a discussion about the rest of the U.S. and the fact that we are still quite starved for moisture and what that could mean just going forward and when the pattern might break down. I don't have a lot of new long-range information today. I've been just reevaluating what we're thinking about the long range, primarily with the discussion of the much colder air that is expected to come through. That was very poorly predicted by the models. It was something that we hinted at happening. We knew what it would take to create that. Remember, we kind of discussed that, but I plan to get through that and then give you a little South America and wrap it up. So the animation you're watching, this is live early this morning. It just turned 7 a.m. Central Time. I was kind of just waiting to see if we could get a little bit more radar data to get a better view of the eye of the system. And what I'm concerned about here is we do start to see a separate kind of, see it right in through here, there's kind of a secondary eye wall. And sometimes these storm systems under ideal conditions can go through an eye wall replacement cycle. Many of you have probably been watching, other meteorologists or folks just discussing this. And this is pretty well defined, though, inner eye at this point. But we just are going to watch to see if there's any additional intensification of this as it goes forward. The other part of this I want to discuss is that most of these individual storm cells that are running around the edge of Milton are rotating, which means there are probably dozens and dozens of water spouts that have been across this part of the Gulf of Mexico. But our big question is, where will this make landfall and how strong will it be at landfall? And I just want to hit on those things early this morning here as we start to just try to figure out what to expect next. So let's go back over to the web. I'll go and blow this up so you can just see a good view of Milton this morning. Now, you don't see an eye. It's filled in. There's a nice cirrus cloud shield over the top of it, but a lot of rain already moving into parts of Florida. I'm just going to take you back to yesterday, though, because as soon as it moved away from the Yucatan, there was an eye wall replacement cycle that happened, and then just an absolutely stunning view of a powerful hurricane. It got back up to Category 5 in intensity, approached that 900 millibar mark again, which is extremely low pressure. And just before the sunset here, this is about as kind of elegant of a view of a hurricane as you can ask for when it comes to just the symmetry, just the gravity waves that were emanating from the center of the circulation along the top, the spread of the upper level cirrus that are happening because of there's actually a perturbation high pressure cell sitting on top of this. And it was fascinating to study, but devastating in its potential effects. So the latest data we have this morning, I have to show you some infrared data here simply because the sun had just risen, and to give you a long enough loop, I want you to see, I want you to see what it looks like on infrared. You start to notice some asymmetry this morning. Do you see how we have much deeper convection on the south and southeast side with a large convective plume out ahead of it here versus a very symmetric storm? This is important because, as anticipated, the upper level wind shear, which is kind of carrying this cloud field off here, was expected to help kind of take some of the punch out of Milton. What I'm concerned about is what it's already done, the momentum that it is already carrying, because we often get very concerned about the category number when it makes landfall, but the reality is that this one's going to be a major hurricane, and it had in its history the ability to get well into the Category 5 stage here overall. So I've kind of zoomed in here on the latest we've got from the National Hurricane Center. In fact, let's get an update just to make sure we do have the latest. Okay, so what I'm concerned about with this is exactly where does it make landfall? And my concern is for Tampa. Now, why Tampa and not surrounding areas? I'm primarily just thinking about the way that bays have the ability to focus storm surge. And that's what I'm concerned about here. So yes, this is going to be devastating no matter where it hits. And will it be able to move across Florida in probably 6 to 10 hours? Yeah, it's going to move very, very quickly across Florida. But as we just take a look at where the current center of NOAA's track is, it is to the south of Tampa. Yesterday, we saw the hurricane. Do you see this little jump right here? Most of the projections continued this hurricane like this and expected it to come in. But there was an interesting jog to the south and east, and that is something that sometimes happens with these hurricanes. And I cannot remember why, but I think it had something to do with the influence of the friction of the Yucatan. But I did not investigate it. I was mostly focused on the after effects of it once we saw the shift. But there's something to be learned here about these hurricanes that make this they can sometimes make this very abrupt and huge jump in a certain direction, in this case, toward the south and east. But if we look at the super ensemble blend, I just want to let you know that there is still uncertainty on where this makes landfall. And as we talked about yesterday, the difference of a couple of miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, is absolutely huge when it comes to the shape of the coastline and the potential impacts from storm surge. So this is what I'd like to do. I'm going to throw the whole kitchen sink at you here. I'm going to show you every model. Look at all of them I've got lined up here. We're going to look at the timing of landfall, and we're going to look at the winds in the center of circulation. So the 0Z European model actually puts it right over Tampa Bay. If we go next to the European Artificial Intelligence, it puts it south. See the circulation here? Coming right into this part of Florida. If we go to the GFS, almost one of the worst case scenarios going right into Tampa Bay. So that's the GFS. When is this? This is somewhere around 3Z. So that would be, into this evening is when we're making landfall with this system. The National Digital Forecast Database is sitting almost on top of Tampa Bay as well. The National Blend of Models, okay, it's kind of washing out a lot of things, but it's got it just south right here. The High Resolution Rapid Refresh, again around 3Z tonight, still coming in right to this point. This is what the NAM, High Resolution NAM, it's got it going straight into Tampa Bay. And remember, the NAM shares an initialization with the GFS, which was here. And that's one of the reasons why they're probably quite similar. Now let's get into our hurricane models. The HAFSA, it's got it much farther to the south. The HAFSB is a little bit farther to the north, closer to the same point that the others were. And the HWRF, okay, is much later in getting the hurricane there, but maybe points to the worst case scenario. So this is a model that is run, high resolution weather research forecasting model, HWRF, or hurricane, not high resolution, forgive me. And it is trying to take it to the north of Tampa, which would absolutely devastate Tampa Bay. Now you saw that most of the models are going for a landfall here. And you're going, why are we spending so much time focusing on one thing? Well, if we take this any farther to the south, what could get pushed in with storm surge at the beginning gets yanked out the moment the hurricane arrives. So you could have this really devastating effect of shoving a bunch of water in and then ripping it back out. And that's what I'm concerned about. I think the worst case scenario is if you just take the hurricane to the north and shove it in and keep shoving it in. That will push the water to the greatest extent inland. But I just wanted to share with you what we're looking at here overall with the risk of this landfalling system. So several models all kind of pointing toward this same region. At this point, if I had to just put a nail in it, I'd say landfall somewhere in here. Water comes ripping into Tampa Bay and then right back out, with the greatest storm surge being right in through this area. Now you know that there's already a lot of debris from Milton in this area. There's already a lot of destroyed property farther to the north you go. And this hurricane is certainly going to be causing its own additional damage and destruction to that. So if we take a look at one other variable, this is maximum individual wave height. So the European model forecasts wave height as well. And what we've got here is that this whole color shading here is 45 to 50 foot waves. So what I'd like to tell you is that as this approaches later on today, storm surge is different from wave height. Storm surge is the swell of the water that's getting pushed out ahead of the system. These waves can ride on top of that out in open ocean. Now, remember something. Please listen. We will not have 50-foot waves on top of the storm surge deep into Tampa Bay. These waves will break here, as they normally do. Okay, so they still have to break, but they're going to do a tremendous amount of erosion in this area and then carry their water farther inland. So the storm surge effects are really much greater in the bay, but the wave height issues along the shore could be absolutely a massive. Again, 45 to 50 foot waves, and that's just where the color bar stops. When I make maps and I stop my color bar here, anything that's greater than this, I just make the same color. So I'm sure Ryan Maui, who I believe coded this, did the same thing. All right, what is the National Hurricane Center's latest update? In fact, did they do a 7 a.m.? They did. Okay. Now they have, look, they've adjusted. They've got Tampa Bay at 8 to 12 feet. They have this region at 10 to 15. That means they have gone in and changed their warning cone. Do they have the new update? They do. Now, I know the image is small. Let's just see if I can blow this up. They have landfall. I know it's a large icon, but it is south of Tampa Bay as well. So their newest 8 a.m. update has now got this south of Tampa Bay. So this could be that scenario where the water gets shoved in, and then as the hurricane spins just south of Tampa, it will pull that water back out. So that's the latest I've got from the potential impacts of Milton in this regard. Let's take a look at some of the other variables. Let's get into some precipitation here. This is what we have this morning from the WPC in terms of total precipitation. Notice how much farther down toward the border of Florida and Georgia we pulled the moisture. So at one point it was really heavy rains expected for southern Georgia. Now nothing. We now have a better idea where the hurricane's going. There's a pretty widespread region of the year that could get at least 10 inches of rain. All depends on the speed of the hurricane, the way that the banding around the hurricane and the rain bands kind of train or go over one area. But there's the potential in this area for up to a foot of rain. And this can be absolutely devastating to this area as it just comes ripping across the middle part of Florida. Sorry, I had just a thought here. Did they... Disney World. I'm just going to go check something out. Is Disney World still open? These are all just wanting me to go vacation there. Disney World will be closing, according to Forbes. Holy smokes. Let me just pull up this article. $150 million toll. Now, I wonder if that is because that's about how much money they make every day. Disney announced. Sorry. Okay. Reduced Disney's earning at its parks between $150 and $200 million. Holy cow. So they do insure against this. Disney has, they purchase insurance packages plus weather derivatives to insure against something like this. But this is pretty amazing to think this through. Sorry, I just thought about it real quick and wanted to go have a look. So I just wanted to share that with you. So Disney is going to close because of this. All right. Can I give you just one more broad look at this hurricane here? Let's try to get a sense of how quickly it goes across. Now, the NAM timing is odd. You know, the NAM is taking it right over here. This would be, I just think this is way too late. It's got the center of the circulation hitting at 4 a.m. tomorrow. I think it's going to get there sooner than that. And then they've got it moving across in the span of about 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then it's out. So this is really going to move quickly. And if you just notice where that flooding area was, right here, it's where these bands come around and they just keep hitting the same area over and over again. You'll get a shift in the wind direction. Now, what could be, if you just step back and look at the fascinating side of this, we should get some very, very amazing views of what it's like to get into the eye of a hurricane here. In other words, you're going to have a lot of Ring doorbells and other cameras that just keep recording. They're going to measure and watch winds that are absolutely ferocious come to a stop and then stall out. Birds will start chirping, things, and then the back side of the eyeball will come over. That will be a fascinating scientific part of this, but that is not to steal anything away from the absolute destruction this is going to cause. Okay, what else is there? We continue the discussion from yesterday. Most of the country's dry. We have this system coming through. We'll take a look at that. Better precipitation, eastern side of the Great Lakes into the northeast, parts of Ontario, Quebec. There's a front that's trying to come through the west. Most of the rest of the country is got nothing. You can look at all of our models, okay? On agweather.com, European, Artificial Intelligence, GFS, WPC, MBM. They all look very, very similar. Today, I'm going to pick the most aggressive model on precipitation, which I think is the European model to dig into. We need to have a quick talk about that. All right. Here's our all hazards weather map this morning. We need to get into a discussion soon about the frost risk as well. That's going to really change things up here in a little while. And I want to tell you what this pattern's up to. We have seen a shift, and the shift has primarily been where this trough has gone and how this ridge to the south of it has formed over Europe. That has moved. It's been displaced. And what I think that's doing is it's kind of setting up a sequence of events over the next 15 days that could start to change up the position of this ridge of high pressure here. And that's what we're watching for. So over the next 15 days, the majority of that time period is quite dry, and the driest compared to average is going to be this region. But I think we're going to see some variability in parts of the western plains and in the western United States once we get past the next 6 or 7 days. But the reality of what this particular forecast means is that the drought scenario that's been building with our lack of soil moisture, we're just continuing to look at updates of these maps, our lack of soil moisture in the center part of the United States, in the northeast part of the United States, in the southwest part of the United States is going to continue to grow. And if you look at our total precipitation ranks, again, I just keep starting these every day from September 1 till now, we see that so much of the western Corn Belt, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes Basin, part of Northeast, then the Southwest and the Northwest have been so very, very dry during this time period. So if we watch what could happen, I'm going to use the HRES, the High Resolution European, for this. This is the event that I'm quite interested in beyond Hurricane Milton. So there's a little trough sneaking through here. And what's interesting about that trough is that it is actually going to help amplify this ridge. Now, the reason that I think that that's interesting is because upstream, there's a deep trough. Downstream, there's already a deep trough. And part of that trough has kind of a leg on the backside right here. And when you get the flow so meridional, meaning more north, south, than west to east, watch this piece right here. When are we? Well, this is Sunday morning. And that is going to be driving through Monday into Tuesday. Flow in the upper levels that's doing this. This is almost a breaking wave in the height pattern going through Canada. And the significance is how much dry and how much cold air is going to be coming in early next week, possibly on Tuesday, into this area, settling into the east and the southeast. Now, the reason why I'm not going way out in the forecast is because even this event was poorly, sought out by the models. As we get past it, this is next Tuesday into Wednesday, Thursday. This is what we've been watching. The chance for a trough to finally get out of the Gulf of Alaska and come into the West Coast. And that is the mid-month potential pattern shift we've kind of been walking through. It's October 17th. So let's have a look at all of this. High-res European model, just going with precipitation here. We've talked a lot about Milton. Milton's out. There's a frontal boundary. See it there coming through Montana. Not much rain into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. When is this? This is Friday, getting into Saturday. It finally settles into the northeast. Going into the weekend, there is the cold front that comes diving down. All of this precipitation is associated with the broader trough. Behind it, very dry and cold air associated with this high pressure cell. There's a big one right here. But could be some rains for the Great Lakes in the northeast. So what we're going to have is a contrasting high pressure cell sitting like this and a low pressure cell sitting like this. And this is just the right setup to drive much colder air into the central United States. Now what's interesting about it, I'm just going to watch it again, is what in the world is the European model doing right here? It's the only model next Tuesday afternoon trying to make snow. Don't just understand I'm going, what the heck? But we'll watch for that. And high pressure just dives in for next week. Now, with this high pressure cell's life began in Canada. It's due to a big folding ridge aloft, cold air driven. So this is going to be a cold centered kind of situation here. There's not heat in this. And so that's interesting. And then you see after it, look at the west. This is Wednesday, and this is next Wednesday, the 16th, 17th, 18th, big systems coming through. And that's what I think the models have honed in on. So what that means is that most of the next 10 days is bone dry for the midsection of the country. This is the probability of staying under a half inch. So other than the trough, the 16th, 17th, 18th coming into the west, and the very limited precip coming through, you notice it's not even got a high probability of getting over half of an inch. So this drought expansion from late summer into fall is going to continue. Now let's mess around with this a little bit. I probably got to do model in. I did. So let's go back to the 0Z. This is the 10-day probability of staying under 1/10 of an inch. Meanwhile, 1 inch, nope. 1 inch, 2 inches, 4 inches, 8 inches. And that's that risk area right in through here. What about week 2? Well, there's our 4 model maps. GFS, European Artificial Intelligence. Here is the 0Z European Ensemble, and this is the CPC. Now, what caught my attention was I had to rerun this just before I started presenting, and the new European model, look at that. This is the artificial intelligence. This is the model. Hang on, let's go back to it. Where did I put that? Here we go. There we go. This is the model that's attempting to bust up this ridge late in the pattern. And it's now got a much more aggressive setup in this area. Now, I know there's a lot of you that watch my content in here and they're going to prove it. I am saying the same thing. I don't know if this is coming through. This is just a artificial intelligence trying to break down that big ridge over the west and southwest, which has caused all the heat, and drop a trough in here. So we're going to watch it. We're just going to keep an eye on this, but day 8 through 14, the AI model just went wet. It's not in the ensembles, and it's certainly not in the CPC forecast. It's only this model. Let's put it to the test. All right, how about some on temperatures? I just made a map this morning. I got to look again at this code. Let me know if this makes sense in the comments. This is where I've seen a temperature recorded by the RTMA data set below 32 Fahrenheit since September 25th. That's just the time period I did this over. So I'm looking for where there's been frost, because the forecast for frost over the next 7 days looks like this. And now you can see much deeper extent into the central U.S. and up the northeast coast of where we're getting some colder air. So minimum temperatures, let's just refresh this before we start. There we go. This is this morning. There's a big warm-up happening in the middle part of the country at the end of this week. Then you note here that we've got all the cooler air moving over to the east. This is Saturday, Sunday. Now you know we're expecting a front coming through after Sunday. There it is on Monday. And Tuesday morning, that's the frost line there in white. I want to show you the most aggressive model on these temperatures. Let's blow this up once. Let's get a quick refresh on this to make sure we got the latest data. And this is just the GFS forecasting every 6 hours, the temperatures. So yeah, really hot this week, into the central United States. Still very hot in the southwest. But then we see, sorry, I'm just going to zip through here to get to when that cold air comes through. There's Monday morning. That's Monday morning. Tuesday morning. So again, I put a contour line around 32. And Wednesday morning. So that's when we're expecting it. Let's just go back and look at it again. Monday morning. Tuesday morning. Wednesday into Thursday morning. And then a huge rebound. Volatile temperatures are the name of the game. Nice thing about the GFS is it goes out 15 days. We can just keep looking out here farther and farther. But the reality is, when the models picked this up after the weekend, this cool down day 5 through 10, I think they did a fantastic job with it. But before that, there was nothing in the day 10 through 15 that even hinted at it. What is interesting is if you look out there, especially the European model, day 10 through 15, we no longer see just the massive bullseye of excessive heat into the southwest. And that's where it's been extremely hot. This is the last 7 days. The last 15 days, and the last 30 days of temperature anomalies. And what it appears is that this, where the ridge has anchored itself, we're going to kick that out once we get well into next week. And that's going to change up our temperature pattern as we go into the end of this month. I think it's going to be really volatile, but just the incredible amount of warmth we've seen since the end of September through the beginning of October for most of the country is about out. I think we're about done. And hopefully these ones will be knocked out as well. This has been the hottest finish of September, start of October on record. Our records go back 132 years here in the Southwest. Okay, so while we're watching that transition, I need to rebuild my thought process on longer range stuff. I'll keep doing that this week, but I want to give you the latest on the globe. We're watching the remnants of Kirk come right into this part of Europe. So it's going to hit the Iberian Peninsula, France, come through Germany, head up towards Scandinavia. We see wetter conditions in parts of Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria. But a lot of attention is going to go on South America, where we see both in Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, much wetter conditions being forecast. And if you just have a look here, yesterday we can see the position of a front to the south and all the cloud cover, but some hints, again, of monsoonal convection while we watch a lot of this wildfire smoke. It's actually little cloud streets that are telling the story. Sorry about that. The cloud streets, see them coming in here? That's telling me that we're getting monsoonal type circulation happening. And that's going to start to draw on the moisture, and that's why the 10-day forecast is showing wetter. It continues to show wetter. So this is going to mean toward the middle of this month, we're going to get very active across Brazil with moisture, and this could really start to push some folks forward quickly, especially those in Mato Grosso. All right, that's what I got today. Be safe in the wake of this hurricane. Be safe as it approaches, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.